It's Halloween night, and you're sitting at home wondering, what can I do? What is there for me to do? I mean, it's not like I have trick-or-treating. It's too young. And haunted hayride ride, those things are boring. Then your friends come over and say, hey, we got a movie that might scare the shit out of you. Well, they're like, no, not possible. He pops in the movie. Movie starts playing, and you're like, okay, this is somewhat scary. It's dark. It's creepy. The only thing you can see is a flashlight. That's wonderful. The beam of flashlight flickers onto a horizon of desolated space. And it's not just any desolated space. It's been basically demolished, obliterated, whatever word you want to think of, by aliens. And you're like, really? I'm not saying this is scary, but keep going along the story. You hear? And you're like, oh, whoa, what is that? That's his heartbeat. You start realizing that just about like halfway through. Then steps onto the elevator, looking around with the flashlight upon the rustic ruins of the elevator. Suddenly, the flashlight hits the upper right-hand corner. There's something crawling in there. Oh my God, what is that? And you're like all tensed up, holding onto your friend, munching popcorn. You're like, oh my God, what is that? What is that? Suddenly, he starts shooting at it. And then you start seeing, wait, this isn't a movie. This is scary as heck. But this isn't a movie. You look over to your friend, over by the popcorn bowl. He's very intensely staring at the screen, obviously terrified. But he has a controller in his hand, clicking away. You start thinking, this isn't a movie. This is a game. And it's not any game. It's a Sony's PlayStation 3 playing the most excellent games that Sony can provide. Today in my presentation, I will be presenting both the hardware specs, the software exclusives and multi-platforming, and I will also present some of the accessories that are well known to Sony. First, I'll go over the hardware speculations. Even though the hardware is very soundly built, most people don't understand what goes into the hardware. The hardware is both a CPU and a GPU. The CPU is made out of one core processor, and it is called the Cell Broadband. Although the Xbox 360 runs on 3 cell processors, you're starting to wonder, one's more than 3. One's more than 3. Then why am I more excited about the 1 than the 3? Good question. Although the 1 cell processor runs perfectly fine on their own, the processor has 7. More than 3. Has 7 minions, basically running all the projects that are needed, and the cell processor, the main one, tells all of the minions to do what it needs to do, thus making the programming easier and lets the cell processor have a little bit more free time to maybe, I don't know, pick up the slack of the GPU. Even though each system has its own flaw, the GPU has only one main component, but it has two spots of memory. The 2 spots of memory serves for like the textures and for it to run a little bit smoothly, and gives it more space so it can do what it needs to do. Although in the present time, the processing power of the GPU is more on the Xbox 360 than on the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3's ability to have the GPU send codes over to the CPU, the little 1 core, 3 core, but the one core that has the commands over there, the GPU can send some of its slack over to the CPU, thus giving your graphics a lot more clearer, sharper, and more definedness while you're trying to be scared half the life from the graphics and the sounds. Another important aspect of the PlayStation 3 is the fact that it has a Blu-ray player built into the system. Compared to the Xbox 360 and the Wii, which don't have Blu-ray players but have DVD players, actually I'm not even quite sure what the Wii has, but I'm pretty sure it's not a DVD player. But the Blu-ray player, that is the most important part about the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3 can use the Blu-ray player because Blu-ray discs hold 4 times as much data and can crunch 4 times as much textures and 4 times as much scaring your life to death moments there than the Xbox 360 does. Although the Xbox 360 is able to use its 3 processors and its one awesome megally built GPU, it has not as much information and data can be shoved into its DVDs. The PlayStation 3, on the other hand, can shove as much data and information into the discs as needed, but the GPU and the CPUs have to be able to read it, so that's Blu-ray players better than DVD players. The second point I would like to move on to is the exclusives. Although the exclusives and the multi-platforming games of the software side of the PlayStation 3 argument is important, you should know that, yes, there are some flaws to the PlayStation 3, but they have been easily fixed. Games like Dead Space and Batman Arkham Asylum have been turned into commercial success due to the fact that they are both on the Xbox 360 and on the PlayStation 3. But early on, in the earlier days of the development, the PlayStation 3 did have some flaws where it did not run as smooth or as, put well together as its counterpart on the Xbox 360. But the PlayStation 3 has been able to be used a lot more clearly, a lot more effectively, so that games like Arkham Asylum, are just as clear, or if not as clear, on your TV set than they are on the Xbox 360. But the multi-platformers are not the only interesting thing about the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3 has a long list of exclusives that range from that are wider range in series and genres than the Xbox 360. Although the Xbox 360, the counterpart of it, has the Halo series in general, and has Gears of War and Mass Effect right now. I said right now. But the PlayStation 3 has various games from just the generic shooting games and the generic games that are RPG style. PlayStation 3 holds a variety of games, like Little Big Planet. Little Big Planet allows you to build your own levels, which is quite unique because you can put them online and you can share them with your friends or anybody else who wants to play them. It's a pretty nifty game, and I think so far on the levels they've made over 2 million levels. 2 million levels you can go online and play. Now, I don't think that's short-storied. Another game that's exclusive on the PlayStation 3 is Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain is a psychological thriller game which it has various story points, unique playthrough, and the consequences always change every single time you decide to take upon a different action. Thus, and plus, it's a really interesting story that drives your character further and further into the story. Now, the last PlayStation 3 exclusive that I would like to point out is Uncharted 2. I know Uncharted 2 is it sounds like a shoot 'em up game, but it's a little bit more than that. It's more like Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider would be like the perfect example to draw an analogy from. Tomb Raider has both the platforming side and the shooting side. The graphics on it, it's beautiful, it's touching, and it has It's very crisp and clean because Naughty Dog was able to use the CPU and the GPU in order to distort to increase frame rate and also increase the textures and graphics which the people would be able to see on their TV. Now that I've highlighted both the graphics and the software, I'll start talking about the accessories. More importantly, the controller. The controller has been proven over time and time again that it is Sony's most reliable controller, the DualShock. The DualShock has been looking like this since 1999, which is a little over 10 years. So I'm pretty sure this controller has been proven that it's reliable. And it fits comfortably in your hand, and you can grip it a lot easier while being terrified. Also, another interesting factor about the PlayStation 3's DualShock controller, it is wireless, and it also has a 6-axis motion control, compared to another motion controller, the Wii. It has both the comforts of a casual gamer by doing the motion control, but it also has the comforts of a hardcore gamer by having the generic buttons, compared to the Wii, which does not, which is annoying when you're trying to play and you're like, oh, this is not comfortable to hold. You have to hold it this way, and you're like, no, I'm done. Also, another interesting fact about the accessories is the one I just dropped. My bad. Is the Bluetooth headset. Like I said, Bluetooth. It's the ones that fit right in your ear, that are not bulky and large like the PlayStation 3s. They don't take batteries, and they are rechargeable from the USB port. I showed you the wrong end, I'm sorry. The USB port. And also the PlayStation 3 controller has that same port, so that they can be easily rechargeable, don't take batteries, and you can still keep playing through those terrifying moments of your gaming experience. As I have highlighted, both the hardware, the software, and the accessories of a PlayStation 3. Now you see why you would want to buy a PlayStation 3. Is there anything else that I could help you with in buying a PlayStation 3 today?